we are awaiting a conversation with the Adjutant General of the Arizona National Guard, and it is a very difficult time to be in charge, to be somebody that is, I guess, your job is to put people in harm's way at times. It's a rough way of saying that, but that is the issue. So, as you know, there was an attack in Jordan. We got word that that at the time Arizona soldiers were in harm's way. We had heard of injuries. We didn't know what the status was. I had a conversation with the general, and she's been kind enough to join us. General Muehlenbeck, thank you so much for doing this.
Hi, Mike. Thank you for having me.
Let's go back to the beginning of this. First, I'd like to get an update, if we could. I know there has been a lot out there. Can you give us a little bit more on the numbers of injured and the severity of injuries to the soldiers from Arizona?
Sure, and there was a reason for the different numbers and the delay. They try to keep close hold on that so they can make the appropriate notifications. So what I can tell you, the most recent numbers that I've received from our battalion commander there, as well as some of the other reports that we've received through the combatant commands, is you've got about, we have no Arizona deaths. So that's the first and probably the most important. We have injured, the numbers are in the 40s. They range from cuts and bruises to blast injuries, the traumatic brain injury, which would be the most serious and the one that was causing some concern. Of those, there were 3 that were medically evacuated to another advanced treatment center outside of Jordan. And it's my understanding that all 3 have positive prognoses for recovery.
I want to talk about morale for a moment, because I was hearing reports that many of the injured, we're not severely injured, wanted to get right back to work, and they wanted to aid and assist in the other injuries that were there. Can you talk about the morale of your soldiers?
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. Out of the 40-some that were injured, we had 34 that were returned to duty and got back to duty. They got back to business, they're on mission, and they're ready to keep serving. So I think, anytime you're in that immediate aftershock of an attack, it's a precarious time. I think there's some uncertainty about your security. You have to assess your safety, the safety of others. You're providing aid, you're trying to anticipate future attacks, and I think the best thing for them is to get back to work. They're there to serve. The last thing at this point they want to do is be idle. So these folks, we've got a total of, there's well over 350 that have deployed to that central command region in the Middle East area for Operation Spartan Shield. Obviously, not all of them were at Tower 22. There was a smaller contingent there, but those men and women did a lot of training before they got there. They've had a lot of time to bond, to come together, and to really perform as a team. So they are definitely ready to get back to work. They're in good hands. The battalion commander that's there, I don't think we'd want anybody else. We got the right person for the job.
Can you talk about their mission? I want to get to what happened, but can you talk about the mission, or as much as you can tell us about their mission there?
Sure. So they are part of Operation Spartan Shield, which is really it's the name for the operations that are over there in the Middle East. Central Command is the area where they've gone to, which is really, if you look at a map, you go Horn of Africa up through the Middle East and then into Central and Southern Asia. So they're Spartan Shield. They're there in the Middle East, and really they're there to stabilize that area, to stabilize the Middle East, develop partnerships and build partnerships, and really deter aggression. And so for our infantry battalion, their primary mission was to deal with law and order and to do some personal security.
The Adjutant General of the Arizona National Guard, Major General Kerry Muehlenbeck, joins us. So can you talk about what you know of the drone strike? We've been hearing information about how this happened and how this drone was able to get through. Is there an update into how this happened that you can tell us?
I mean, you know what I know. If you're reading some of the recent releases from the Department of Defense or some of the military pundits that are commenting, I think really they're still gathering facts. They're trying to do their investigation. It sounds like the there are some new tactics and procedures that the enemy is using to defeat what radar or what capabilities we have, and I don't think that's anything new. It's a back and forth where you ratchet up. We defeat them, they come back and try something new, and I think this is exactly what's going on. So they'll come out with a good evaluation. I think what I do know is, unfortunately, the attack was successful. It was almost a direct hit to the housing units right there. It took out the barracks, the containerized barracks, and hit them at night while they were sleeping. So I suppose if you want to take out individuals, you hit barracks and you take them out at night.
Have you had
people are sleeping?
Yeah. Have you had an opportunity to speak with any of the families of these soldiers personally? And if not, what would you say to those families here in Arizona who have soldiers deployed?
I have not done that. I'm trying to give the families some space so they can handle some of the notifications from the official channels, as well as, there's still phone capability there, and there's text messaging and social media. And I spoke to one of the parents, but their son was not in Jordan, was at another location. And so word is traveling. And I think what I would say to the parents is, thank you. You've trusted your sons and daughters. I would say thank you to the spouses and to the siblings and to the neighbors that they trusted their care to us, and we're going to make good on that. Some things we can't control, but we can take care of them and get them back whole and support them, and we couldn't be more appreciative. Those men and women do what the majority of us cannot do, me included, right? As a leader back here, I'm a senior administrator. I make decisions, but these young men and women go out and they are doing things. They are serving. They are ones that are representing the United States and all of us.
I would imagine that the biggest part, the heaviest responsibility you have is when you have to deploy people into harm's way.
It always is. Those deployment ceremonies are tough for me, and I don't know who's more anxious, the kids in formation or the me on the stand who is sending them off. That's a tough time. But they have been trained. They work long hours. They spend countless days and nights away from their family and their full-time jobs, and they man, train, equip, and we have well prepared them, and I think by all accounts, they just were remarkable in their response, and we are so very proud of them.
I'm getting a lot of messages from people that knew I was going to talk with you and asking, is there anything the community can do? Is there anything that we can do for them that you know of? Is there something the community here can do for them?
I think the biggest thing is to really keep them in their thoughts and their prayers. The men and women in uniform, they never serve alone, and I've told folks the uniform gets the play sometimes as representatives of this nation, and that's a good thing. But more importantly, there's not a single man or woman in uniform that could go out there and serve without the full support of the rest of the country. And so we've had outreach from the governor and her team, from various elected officials. Our family support groups are on top of things. You've got the Military Support Foundation here in the state. They have just been amazing with their outreach, and I think just keeping them in the front of your mind would be helpful. I always believe in the power of positive thoughts and prayer.
General, I thank you so much for your time. I know it's a difficult time, but I think the people of Arizona and the members of the families of your soldiers hearing your voice matters a great deal. So I appreciate the time this morning, and I hope to talk with you when you're back in town.
I hope so, too. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it.
All right. That is the Adjutant General. That is General Muehlenbeck with us for a few moments.
Thanks for watching the Mike Broomhead Show. Tap to watch the first season of Amazing Arizonans, a KTAR News podcast. You can also click the button in the middle to subscribe.